Hello everybody! So this is our third installment of how to build a better SFM BMAX car. So unfortunately, in its inaugural run at the Hobbytown races this month, I cracked my carbon FM chassis. So if you take a look at here the front side, you'll see that it's a little bit skewed on this side. It's lower on this side than on this side, and that's because it took a fatal hit. So the car reversed direction and then went up the tabletop and then into an overpass, smack into an overpass. And so this front side was like severely damaged. And I'll show you what it looks like. There's a crack right there. So even though this is a carbon FM chassis, it doesn't mean that it's indestructible. It just means that it's a little bit stronger than a typical SFM chassis. But a lot of people have mentioned to me that these carbon FM chassis are actually very brittle, and so they actually break easily. And so getting this carbon FM chassis, is it going to be like that much of an improvement over a standard SFM chassis? Well, some people think so. And I think maybe the rest of the chassis is pretty rigid, so if you want that kind of feature about the chassis, then I think that's the reason to get a carbon FM chassis. But it looks like these parts here that jut out, and I'll show you what exactly I mean by that. Here is a brand new carbon FM chassis. So it was this part here that cracked. And so you see here there's two potential points where it could be weak, here and here. And yeah, it's not like you could distribute the weight of the impact across several screws. You've got these two end points here that you can use one of them for your anchor point for your plate. So it's not like you can put a hole here and maybe a hole here and a hole here. I suppose you can drill them through the chassis themselves, but I think that'll weaken the structural integrity of the chassis, so I don't actually recommend drilling holes into this chassis, unless you're good at it, unless you can reinforce it in some way. I suppose what you can do is just apply some glue along this part here to make it stronger and more rigid. You can also fill this part here with glue, and that will strengthen it a little bit more. So yeah, you can use super glue and just fill in this area here, this cavity, and that should make it a little bit stronger. So I was also thinking about changing the plate too. So I chose this plate here because this plate, well, not only did it look cool, but it also fit exactly on this the way that I wanted it to fit on there. So my original car, my original Red Hot BMAX car, looks like this. It's got a double plate right here, FRP plates that are fused together, and I had gotten them from a Neo VQS Advanced pack. So you take a look at the front and the rear, and that's what the plate is. So it's from the Neo VQS Advanced pack. But you can get them separately if you can find them. You can get them separately and purchase them as separate items. But yeah, that's how I got mine. And the rear, I used this rear plate right here, which some people use as a front plate. So I have another one of those right here. Yeah. So I might switch over to this one, and then I'll grab another carbon plate and fuse them together. So I have one that's here, an older one, that's on this car here. So I might remove that and just fuse it together with this, and then I'll get a double carbon plate. Although I don't think I actually need a double carbon plate. I think the reason why you would want to have a double carbon plate is for extra strength, that's true, but also to minimize the use of this, like, multiple, what are they called? These stalks right here, these pipes. You want to try to use as few of these pipes as possible when you're stacking them like this, because when you stack them, the top roller doesn't always spin as freely as the bottom roller. The bottom roller is going to spin nicely. The top one, it all depends on how many of these are stacked up here. So this could be a smoother rolling roller if I had just one pipe instead of two. So I'm calling them pipes, but I think they're something else. What the heck are they called? I forgot now. So this is my front plate right here, and this hit the overpass, and I believe what happened was, because this got crushed on this side here, this point of impact probably hit this. The point of impact is here, hitting the overpass, and so you've got all this impact right here, and that basically causes this to buckle and crack. And so if I had something that would distribute the amount of impact across the entire plate, that would be better than if I just had this one concentrated point of impact. So that's the theory, at least with this one. This one here, or this one, will spread the impact across the entire plate. So with a carbon plate, it's going to be very difficult to crack it. The chassis itself is going to give way before the carbon plate gives way. With an FRP, most likely the FRP plate will crack first before a carbon plate will. So I think that's probably a good reason to use FRP plates. If there's an impact, to try to let the impact affect the plate versus the chassis. And so that's a good strategy to try to keep your carbon FM chassis as intact as possible. So on the front, I have these small weights here, and that's all you really need from the front, because there's a lot of weight in the front. There's the motor, there's everything towards the front there. You can see that I've used these heavy 11mm roller bearings, and these are, let's see, it's an old Dangan part, but you can actually purchase a newer version of these that are under the Tamiya Mini 4-wheel drive regime. So yes, you can use Dangan parts on your Mini 4-wheel drive cars, but like I said, this with the same item number is also released under the Mini 4-wheel drive name, and so these are the 11mm ball bearings, item number 15345. So I like to put two of them in the front on each side. I've done that with Red Hot as well. So, and I have the stabilizer on the top there that I've inserted a lock nut inside there. So yes, very, very cool. This is a single plate, and the bottom I'm using an FRP version of the SXX underguard plate. And yeah, this will protect it from too much like snagging. Like this will still snag in certain circumstances, but it'll snag less because I have the plate positioned this way. So I have it set the same way here on my old setup. So very, very cool. Now the rear roller stay has like, okay, so this is carbon right here, so it's more versatile than the one that's on my old BMAX car. The original one has a regular ABS plastic rear roller stay. This one's the carbon one, so like I said, more versatile. I attached this to it. This is a standard tail plate. You can use any one you want. I happen to choose this one because this one was readily available. And I have here an FRP. Basically, I'm using it as an underguard. It's a popsicle stick that I'm using as an underguard. And right above that is another popsicle stick that I ran across there. So you can see it right there. There's a carbon popsicle stick right there. So this popsicle protects the other popsicle that contains these two 19mm rollers, solid dish rollers. They spin very freely. And then I've got these upside down. These are normally like flipped the other way. These are ringless rollers. I think I have them here somewhere. Let's see. They're here somewhere. No. Oh, those pipes that I was calling them pipes, they are called aluminum spacers. So there you go. And let's see. Over here somewhere. I had this over here somewhere. Where is it? Not that. Oh, here it is. Yes, HG lightweight 19mm tapered aluminum ball race rollers, ringless. Item number 95651. That's the stuff that's on the top here, these two that are on the top. And I inverted them so that when they hit the side of a track, and if the car lifts up a little bit like this, it'll still roll along the track. So yeah, this has got like it should have some good balance here when it's hitting the sides of a track and being slightly airborne on one side of the car. So yeah, your mileage may vary, so it depends on the track, of course. So you can choose to add normal stabilizers on top like this, right? So this is perfectly acceptable. You can also replace the solid dish rollers with something lighter like this one, which spins so freely, so nicely. So yes, you can replace with these if you'd like. So There's also these weights here on the rear that are attached to the outer edges of this tailstay. And yes, the whole thing is attached here. You see the spacers right there. And mounted like so. So this whole thing in the rear, pretty sturdy, pretty stable. It's not as flexy. So if you take a look at the back here, it's not as flexy as this one. This one, it rocks back and forth very easily. So one of the wonderful things about the SFM CFM chassis is the fact that it's got this single mount point, which is good and bad, right? So a single mount point, there's all that tension right there, right? So this has to be solid and secure. And yeah, like this is nice. It's got like a little bit of swing right there. This one, not so much because it's carbon. It's more firm. The plastic is more firm. So yeah, the single mount point, I think, will be its greatest asset as well as its greatest disadvantage. So yeah. But anyway, this is heavy as a tank. And when this launches off of a tabletop, and if it flies off the course, then yeah, it could hurt if it hits you. So be very careful with this, especially with these right here. So when the weight is distributed across the entire plate, it's not going to hurt as much as if this single pointy thing may hit you. So hopefully this will not hit you, and hopefully it'll be just kind of like a diffused kind of impact if it does hit you, if you use something like this or something like this. So yes. So yeah, that's part 3. It's all done of how to build a better SFM BMAX car. So next time we'll revisit, basically, like I'll replace this, the whole chassis itself, and I'll show you the new plate that's in the front. Oh, one last thing. I added some tape right here. So that a little bit of tape right here that runs alongside under here, and I've got a little bit of sponge right there to secure this in place. I've already mentioned that before, I believe. And here, I've got some tape attached to this battery lock right here, so that when I take off the battery lock like this, it stays like that. So I can easily snap it back in place. So instead of clicking 1, 2, I just click 1 point right there. And yeah, it's easy to open, easy to close, and yes, that's it. And also I made no modifications to this cowl right here, no sponge added to it, so that I can still use it for box stock. I'll just have to peel off the sticker that I applied here for additional friction for this. And I don't think I even need it now that I have the sponge in there, so yeah, it should be pretty secure. Very, very cool. So until next time, everybody, see you.